Hey all, this is 012 Boku and
Officer Jackass.
we're coming at you again with another review of 24 Season 1, our 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I know, like I said, I usually would do my short reviews first, but Jarek was really enthralled by this episode, so we will go ahead with the actual review, and I will do the short review for you guys, hopefully sometime again this week. Sorry, I just took a shower. My hair looks weird in camera. Maybe that's just the camera. And also, I need to know I'm getting older. I'm starting to lose some of my hair, as you probably all have guessed as well. But oh well. But basically, we'll start off with the usual. And Jarek, since you were so enthused about this episode, what did you like about it?
Well, I mean, this is later on in the episode, but I really love the continuing drama with Palmer having to confront his son about, doing, how should we put this? Doing Bauer things to the guy who put his hands on his sister. Because now, we got a reporter who definitely, more than likely, has the evidence to prove he did it.
Maureen Kingsley, if you guys remember from even way back in the first episode.
And now, he knows his wife and pretty much everyone in his family
I'll be back, folks. Keep going, Jared.
knew about this and kept it from him. And again, if you were paying attention to the episode where Miss Kingsley dropped that information, it seems like there's definitely other people who might be in the know on this. But the interesting thing about this is, he tells his security detail pull over. His son's basically run out of the apartment, and he's trying to convince him to come back because he's going to, tell their side of the story, and he wants the whole family there, which, honestly is probably both the best and, in my opinion, most moral way of handling it. Again, they can't. They're bringing up something we don't want exposed. But what if we handled this a different way? What do you mean? Well, surely there's something in Maureen Kingsley's life that she doesn't want to get out to the public. And I love his reaction. Blackmail? And you can tell he is upset with her. He's not going to say it out loud, and he didn't, and I kind of wish he had. But I told Boku, it's like when I look at the way he's looking at her in that scene, it's like he's trying to tell her, he wants to tell her, if this situation was reversed, you would be the one demanding that everything be brought to the light. And, what happens if we get caught, withholding this information?
Pardon me?
They will accuse us of of weaponizing race against them, of making it a black versus white issue, and using our power to withhold the truth as we have accused them of doing in the past. And I thought, the fact that I got all of that just from how he looked at her, and it's brilliant too that he doesn't say it, because you can tell with how high strung his wife is right now. He's worried that one more thing, and she could potentially be a political and used as a wedge against him politically and privately. And also, she brings up the fact that he asked her, it's like, you've been talking to Carl. And again, remember, she's mentioned she does not like Carl. She thinks Carl is a bad person. But
to basically connect your point, that was only 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
2 episodes ago.
And look at how quickly she changes her mind when he could be useful for making something go under the rug.
or actually, to reiterate your point even further, Jared, 2 hours ago.
Yeah. And the other big thing that I really loved about this, I'm sure Boku's going to also talk quite a bit about this, is we see just how goddamn big everything that has been leading up to this is, because you would think Jack would be safe enough to, talk to his people at CTU. No.
Mm-hmm.
He's having a nice little chat. He's basically being forced to try to help bury some of the evidence, and in doing so, Nina gets suspicious, so he has to kidnap her. And he's he wanted to write a note to warn her, and the guy in his earbud's like, no, Jack, destroy that paper.
Shred the paper now or your daughter dies.
And he's trying to figure out how he can see, and then he sees the CTU security CCTV. He's like, yes, Jack, I can see you. Now shred that paper.
Yeah. Yes, Jack, I'm still watching you.
And it's just brilliant because, they don't exactly implicitly state who is helping him get that feed footage, but you can figure it out pretty easily if you watch the show. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to Boku.
All right. Well, yeah, you mentioned a lot of the good stuff. Since you basically went knee deep into the Palmer stuff, I'll stay away with that because that was good. But I'll admit really quickly that was good. I love the family dynamic, the personal implication. Sherry Palmer, you could tell as this goes more and more on. And I know you've already seen some of the things with me, Jarek, so you know this is leading to her just wanting political power and not having that cocked up, probably not even caring one iota about her family. But again, like I said, the fact that if you look at it through the TV show, 2 episodes, but actually if you look at it in the real life perspective, 2 hours, she's pissed off that Carl's there, and then within 2 hours, she's talking to him.
Well, and again,
it's just like...
I don't know who they got to play her, but she's a physical dead ringer for Michelle Obama.
Penny Johnson, Gerald. But believe me, it's funny how, like I said, the show predicted quite a few things, or predicted how we were going. Not to get into this, folks, because, we'll probably get into it within later seasons, but it's really hard not to see how the show predicted how our politics was headed or going, about how, maybe it isn't really about the country, it's not about the people, it's more about the status, the power, what you want us to realize, because you think we're not better than...
Like when she confronts him, when he's confronting her about it, she says, like, I'm doing this to protect our family, your candidacy. And, it's like, if the winning play would have been just, I'm doing this for the health of our children, for our family.
Yep, as you said last night.
But she added candidacy. And again, with how adamant she is that they need to protect his ability to make this historic run, which, by the way, they were doing that during the Obama administration. It was like, this is the most historic presidential election in all of American history. And again, it's just like Michelle Obama. Once he got in, she was everywhere. People thought Nancy Reagan was, in everyone's face once she got to be First Lady. Michelle was worse. Like, if you thought Nancy Reagan being the face of the Just Say No to Drugs campaign was a little over the top, Michelle Obama was like on Sesame Street almost every year for multiple times. So, honestly, again, I love that this is kind of spot on for what happened.
Yeah, and one in a way, that's what I love about the show too, Jarek. And to that point, since we went over it a little bit again, the other thing I liked was he mentioned as well near the end, all the stuff with Jack and the key card, which was at the forefront, and other stuff I mentioned really quick, it was just as good. Terry finding out from the last episode that Alan York is, they just say Kevin, but I saw on the initial thing they had his full name, which they do say later in the show, but Kevin Carroll, who's impersonating Alan York, and there's that whole thing to where, like how Jarek was saying, you think CTU's safe. No, we find out about the mole, that's Jamie, so it's like, holy shit, but if you're smart, and if you guys have seen the show, then I'll say it's a little bit of a spoiler warning here, and again, like I say, you should be careful watching this anyway, because I probably should put spoiler warnings, but hey, that's the whole point of a review. If you don't want to have it spoiled, don't watch it. But, if you think Jamie's the only one, you're fooling yourself. But, Jamie is a mole within CTU. And, that's how Terry gets kidnapped. Rick and Kim work for an escape plan. And she's almost out because they actually fool some of the guards, get away. Rick knows Ira Gaines isn't going to let him go, so they both try to escape. Kim sees her mother, goes back to be with her mother. You can't blame her, but it's also frustrating because they were almost both out. But as good as all that stuff was, the whole Ira Gaines, Jack and her play, him being watched the entire time, Ira Gaines having this just, like when he's talking to Rick, this cool attitude, or him being frustrated with Jack Bauer, and then, again, him switching out the key card. I love how multiple characters started putting it together. Like, Nina knew Jack was acting squirrely right from the outset. As soon as Jack replaced the key card and sort of tripped up Milo's work on purpose by pretending to dump over his peanuts, by saying, wait, you didn't do this yet? Let me see. And then as soon as Milo's trying to pick up all the peanuts from his workstation, Jack cleverly switches out the key card. Well done there in the writing for that, because that was actually really clever.
And what's interesting is I think Jack purposely went out of his way to act a bit more squirrely than normal, knowing that multiple people in CTU would pick up on it. Because we've seen Jack, he is an uber professional and perfectionist. So for him to make such basic mistakes, he would know there would be people who would pick up on that and they would look into it.
Well, it's like you said with him shredding the paper. And yes, Jack, I'm still watching to you. Put down the pen, stop writing, and shred the paper. And then all the things, the little cameras, and just him being watched by the thugs in the cars outside. Him with the camera in his own car, and then thinking he has a moment to be safe that it's not. And then, again, the whole Milo piecing it together saying, no, I was only 20% done with this card. I can't be done yet, because it's saying I'm 99% complete. And Nina's like, well, that's good, isn't it? And Milo's like, yeah, but I don't believe it, because Milo knew what he was sifting through. And again, me and Jarek were talking about it. That's why we like how they bring in outside parties, because it's something that, granted, it's a kink in the armor, but it's also something to maybe move stuff forward through CTU, because they caught on to something isn't right, but at the same time you're dealing with a desperate father who's trying to also prevent this assassination, but at the same time trying to save his family. So it's just all these things that culminate into holy shit moments.
It's like I told you last night, what I love about this particular part of the story is how meticulously every group that's basically trying to consolidate power in this incident had everything so perfectly planned, and yet every single time something goes wrong on one end or the other, it's because they brought in an outside person or factor that nobody had, was previously aware was going to be involved with it, like bringing in Milo as the computer specialist. Tony Almeida had a pretty good read on things, but then all these new people and places started coming into things. Everybody who was...
And then, not to interrupt you there, Jarek, but that also explains, because you're making a good point, Jarek, that also explains why, because remember, Jamie got really squirrely when they were bringing in Milo. She got, offended. Now we know why, because she figured Milo could cock up whatever. Because, again, if you haven't seen this yet, you don't know Jamie's reasons yet, but they will get into it, of course, but that's probably why Jamie did not want Milo coming into this, because it's like, oh shit, he could fuck this up.
I mean, that's kind of the funny thing. You've got at least 3 different groups just within CTU, all basically trying to either muck everything up or get things working faster.
Well, Tony, for right now, sorry, just to interject again, is that, he's concerned about Nina. That's his whole thing, because that's his bow, and he also does... Tony understands Jack, but he doesn't like how Jack does the rules. Tony is a step below George Mason.
And isn't he also kind of acting on behalf of national security, NIS or something like that?
I think, but he is, Tony even in season 1 was mainly CTU, but he also had contacts in those areas.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. Everybody had everything so meticulously planned ahead of time, but there were all these little X factors that kept popping up. Different people, different scenarios. And it's kind of just fun, realizing every time they think they have it, it's something that somebody else brought in just kind of throws a little monkey wrench into the works.
Well, and it's like what I told you, the bridging of the gap between reality and fiction, where because they say this in some of the commentaries and special features later on in the other seasons, that the whole point is it probably wouldn't happen exactly this way, but it makes it believable enough to make you believe that it could happen, and also keeping as much realism as possible to making it not seem too outlandish or too fake, making it understandable enough till we get it, and that's brilliant. And that's why going into that, when Jack takes Nina hostage when she discovers the keycard's fake, because by the way, she doesn't buy any of Jack's answers. Oh, I called Division, I let him know, I didn't trust Milo, I had to let Division know. All right, Jack, I'm not buying that. And all of a sudden, I pull a gun on you, and then, when Jack does that to Nina, and he's thinking because he actually gives her a flak jacket that Ira Gaines doesn't understand, but still, when Jack pulls that gun, Ira Gaines just doing this and be like, holy shit, he didn't do the complete bug-eyed look like he did, but he's like that, more subtle, because, and just the whole thing when he grabs Nina, he's like sweating, he's like doing this, just like he's acting so nervous, because, and there's a part where when Nina's arguing with Jack, when he takes her captive, that, they almost crash into a car at a stoplight, and he's like, careful, Jack, I need you alive. And see, that's the key. Why does he need Jack Bauer alive? What is the whole point to having Jack Bauer alive? And there was a scene where Ira Gaines set up to where, okay, he switched out the key card, now call the Palmer breakfast and say, you have special clearance to be head of security, call the main guy, make it happen, I don't care what you have to do, make sure you have priority clearance. And that just goes into the whole thing, but during that whole thing with Nina, Ira Gaines, Michael Massey is so nervous, and it's just so well done, because right when they get to the part, they stop way outside, a little bit outside Los Angeles, in one of the old oil fields they used to have, and Jack's getting upset. He actually tells Nina the truth, and he tells Nina to get out of the car. Nina's, reacting as you expect. She doesn't want to die. She wants to understand what's going on. Jack's telling her to turn around, I'm going to shoot you. And she's like, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this to my face. Ira Gaines is yelling in his ear, do it now or your daughter dies. We don't have time for this. It's just such a well-done scene. And when he shoots Nina, tumbles down the hill. We don't actually see him shoot her, but he stuffs the gun into her jacket, shoots it. Obviously, the flak jacket's taking the damage. And, but she rolls down to the hill. They believe her. She's dead. And he gets into the car. And Jack is reacting as we would expect, because we believe he shot her, where he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did this. And Tony actually makes Jamie, and Jamie was reluctant to do this with Tony, give him a 10-minute loop outside of his office from 6 p.m. And then all of a sudden, Jack seeing what, he did to Nina, and Tony's upset. But then he also sees where Tony notices the jacket that he gave Nina, and he's like, why did he put a flak jacket on her? And then boom, Nina gets up and, walks away from the scene. So just a very, very great episode. And also, I can see probably why you wanted to do this, because all those scenes with Nina and Ira Gaines toward the end of that were very, very tense. Just very tense, very good drama moments. And I guess to that point, we can head to favorite characters. Again, since I let Jared go first that time, I will go first this time. I have got to get, again, I know I said this last night to him, but I have to give it to, again, shout-outs are probably going to all go to Kiefer Sutherland, because Kiefer Sutherland is just amazing in the show. What he did in this last episode was great. Love it. I have to give it, though, to, the other two I have to give it to. I have to give it to Michael Massey, Ira Gaines, just so really well done. So really well done, and just how he was freaking out, getting nervous, getting upset with him, trying to be in control. And even that part where he talks to Rick, where he's so subtle in talking to him. Can I just get out of here, Mr. Gaines? I didn't realize you were in anyone's way. Well, I finished all my thing. Can I go? Well, this is good. Well, you can do that. Well, I just want to leave. Tell you what, I'll give you a bit more work, and we'll talk about when you can go. Okay. And then he turns around and he's just grinning at him like, I've got this kid eating out of my hand. So just great, great villain stuff. Michael Massey played that to a T. I also have to say, it was very hard for this one. I gotta give the third nod probably to, there's so many good people, but I gotta give, now they have Jonathan's full name. Jonathan Matajevic. Jeez Louise, what last name would that be? Mati. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's Polish.
Yeah.
Matajevic.
Yeah, full Witcher then.
Hey. And, sorry, I just noticed that. I never knew what Jonathan's full name was, because Jonathan is, that's the assassin impersonating Martin Belkin. Rudolph Martin's the actor's name, but Martin Belkin. And yeah, Jonathan Matajevic. Well, very cool. I didn't know that, but sorry for that little side tangent. But I know Jarek's probably going to do this too, but I got to give it to Dennis Haysbert, Senator David Palmer, him talking with his whole family, the different reactions, just the pleading desperation of wanting to make it right with his son, sort of getting irritated with his son, but the understanding, but yet I'm losing my son. The understanding he has with his daughter, because like I overheard Jarek say, his daughter was more understanding of this. She didn't want it to come out, and she's upset that it came out, but she's willing to work with the father. And his disappointment in Sherry, that Sherry keeps going outside the bounds of what Palmer believes in, because they're not coming together to do this as the family. She's desperate to keep this under wraps, and deep down, he's probably still ticked at her for keeping this from him. Because again, Palmer didn't know about this for the last 7 years. And like he said in a couple previous episodes prior, when he was talking to Mike Novick, his chief of staff, about this, he's like, what does this say about me? I didn't know about this for 7 years. So it all goes back to that scene where he's probably upset because, deep down he probably isn't happy with his son or daughter either, but he probably realizes, you are my wife. You are the mother of our children, and you couldn't tell me about this? And again, I can understand that. Because you would hope in a family dynamic you have the trust. And Dennis Haysbert just plays that so well. Watching this show over again, and for the whole time Dennis Haysbert's in this show, brilliant character. Probably some of the best stuff Dennis Haysbert has ever done. And I have to give a final Dark Horse nod. I got to give it to Leslie Hope, Terry Bauer. Her just trying to deal with Alan York, the desperation of a mother trying to find her daughter, the freaking out that she's not with somebody, I need to get a hold of my husband, he would help me with this, I got to get a hold of anybody. And even when she's captured, that whole freak out at the end, just yelling for Kim, wanting anyone to help her and stuff like that. I know some people think, oh, that's melodramatic. Actually, no, you would probably, if you were like Terry Bauer, not used to this stuff, that's exactly how you would probably be. Because if you've never been kidnapped, you'd probably be freaking out about it. So, great performance from Leslie Hope on that too. I roll it over to you, Jarek.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna have to mostly agree with Boku, but I hate to do this, kind of disqualify what's his name? Dennis Haysbert, because he was way too good. Nobody's gonna stand a chance against him. But I will say this, if it wasn't for him absolutely knocking it out of the park, yeah, he would be number one with ease. Because honestly, right? Not only his voice, but his reactions, his facial emoting, he really was a tour de force in this. You have to watch this episode. But since I can't pick him, my number one is of course going to be Michael Massey. Dear God, this guy has now officially usurped Woody Harrelson as my favorite psychopath.
Really?
So good job, Mr. Massey. You are now number one.
That's cool, dude.
And as for number two, what was the name of the boy Kim Bauer was working?
Who was helping her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Daniel Bass who played. Oh, Rick Allen. So Daniel Bass who plays Rick Allen.
My number two is going to be both him and Kim Bauer, because that scene where
Alicia Cuthbert, yep.
Where they were faking, him forcing himself on her in order to distract the guards. Not to mention her reactions and his his slow turn from the shock and realization this guy's never going to let me go to actually cooperating and coming up with a really damn good plan based on the positioning of all the other guys. These two worked really good, and man, that must have been a very hard scene for Miss
Alicia Cuthbert.
Yeah, because those kind of scenes are very traumatizing for female actresses, and her and the lady who played Terry Bauer, Leslie Hope.
Leslie Hope, yeah.
Fucking amazing. And of course, number three is going to have to be Mr. Sutherland, the man, the myth, the wick before the wick. And also, I'd just like to add that, man, this episode to me really solidifies why 24 is the counterterrorism television show equivalent to Wheel of Time. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to everybody you see in this episode. They will be important.
And let's reiterate that. To the Wheel of Time books not the Amazon show, which I've not heard of, but I've heard enough of it. And again, ever since seeing shout out to Disparu trademark on you, because as soon as you released that thing about how Hollywood is destroying IPs, as soon as you said how Rafe Judkin, the writer of the show, was wanting to destroy what fans knew of the books, wanting to destroy what fans of the books wanted to see to the screen, I'm like, I instantly have no interest in seeing this show. Because if that's his idea of what to do, then yeah, you have no interest. But again, back when you have a show like this where it wasn't based on anything, but just doing a show that was so deep-rooted in realistic, like, espionage and just, again, because we had so many things with terrorism going on at the time and so many fears of it, this show got held back for a little bit because of the World Trade Center attack. And again...
Oh, and keep going for a bit.
Sure.
There's something I'm going to get.
And, you know, just all those different things. And sorry if I dug down here. I knocked one of my protectors off my computer. You know, it's like you have all that type of stuff. But it was just so good and groundbreaking at the time that I love it. And this episode is the reason why you show great characters, great drama, great espionage, great political intrigue. Just so damn good. You love it. And I love this entire series. And this episode is a reason why.
And a word of warning. Don't play the PS2 24 game or the 360 version. If you want 24 the video game, play Alpha Protocol. To the best of my knowledge, this is only available on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. So, also watch out for some of the glitches in the Rome boss fight against that 70-year-old gay man. That motherfucker kicks ass. You're going to have a hard time with him.
Well, hey, and you know, how about you, Jarek? Any more final thoughts since I gave mine?
Well, aside from, sexy Witcher thoughts... I'd have to say this was easily one of the best 24 episodes we've seen thus far, and if you know anything about 24, it only gets better from here.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, and it's only going to get better from here. But hey, these are our thoughts. What are yours? Just leave them down in the comments below. We're really interested in seeing what you guys think. Have you seen 24? Would you have it upside down? Have you seen 24? Have you seen any of this at all? Because again, I'd really like to know, because apparently I noticed there's a lot of searches on YouTube for this show, so that just makes me feel awesome. And I know our channel is growing up to 65 subscribers now. Thank you guys, all 65 of you who watch these and keep supporting me and featuring Jarek the Jackass here. We love you guys immensely. But until then, au revoir beaucoup, and...
Mr. Jackass demanding death battle. Jack Bauer versus John Wick.
Fight! Something tells me John Wick would take that, because I know Jack Bauer's good, but I don't think he's that good.
It would still be the most badass thing Death Battle has done in years.
Probably, but we'll see you guys again later, alright? Deuces.
Deuces.